2014 election and the 2016 election. And basically, it gives you the deadline. If you make changes before August the 22nd, then the districts that are, if you create new districts, which in turn might create a vacancy, then you would put those offices on the 2014 ballot. And the Republican and Democratic committees would appoint people to go on the ballot for November 2014. If you wait until after August 22nd, then the Commissioners Court would appoint people to go on the 2016 ballot and for an unexpired term, and then they'd go again on 2018.
What constitutes a vacancy in an old district?
Well, I guess I'd have to refer it back to her to decide what the difference is.
Basically, what the practical consequences of, and we don't know what plan is going to be adopted yet, but it looks like if there are changes made, there are some major differences in the makeup of the districts, and the bottom line is every plan seems to affect all the districts in some way or another. And from a pragmatic point of view, that calls for sort of a shake-up of all of the districts. And if you're going to obviously change, even subtle changes in some of those districts, then the legal consequences of that are that you're creating new districts. And the essence of that is that you abolish the old ones and start new. The trend around the state has been that when you do these modifications to accommodate the changes in services and changes in population shifts, is that they typically the Commissioners Court, which has the discretion to do so, will abolish the old offices, which creates the vacancy, and establish new offices. And that's sort of the term of art, is once the office obviously is abolished and that office goes away, and then you go to the election code and follow that procedure to deal with the election of those offices. So the bottom line, it's within your discretion to do that. Obviously, you don't have to change, but if you're going to change voting precincts and line up the voting rights of those people to elect their people with the election code and the process that's in place, the natural effect is that you abolish the old ones and create new ones.
So would we need to know that we need to do that before the election? I mean, in other words, that way they would know what they're going to be running for.
Right, and I think the question that's on everybody's mind is what is the effect, and the problem is, and I sort of feel sorry for your elections administrator because she's being asked a hypothetical question. She has to make some assumptions in order to fit everything within the election code, because you're always going to have an ongoing election because you have these staggered offices, and the JP and constable precincts are the same. They're one precinct with two different offices with two different elections, so you're always going to have this issue, and depending on when the court makes that decision will then dictate how she has to implement that under the election code. So in order to try to get the information to you, I suggested to her that she just make a hypothetical assumption, and we picked June 1 because by then the primary would have been over, the runoff would have been over, and then it would fit within the schedule, and that's what she hasn't picked June 1, but she's told you what the dates are that are critical, and if the decision is made after August 26th, 22nd, then the Commissioners Court appoints. If it's before August 22nd, then there's an election. And then there's a process in the election code to determine how that's done. And, you know, the bottom line is if you make a decision, hypothetically, and I don't know, and nobody knows what your decision is going to be, but if you make that decision on June 1st, then that will be in time to allow everybody to be elected to those new precincts. And the constables and JPs will all be on the ballot in November.
And actually, the deadline to canvass the runoff election is June 5th, so you probably want to wait until after that canvass is done to make that decision. And I can tell you, even the August 22nd date, actually, the deadline to call the elections in November is August 18th, so it's actually before that deadline. And when we call the election, we have to list what's going to be on that ballot. And that's in August the 18th is a Monday. We all usually meet on Tuesday, so we'd actually have to back it up to August the 12th, which would be that Tuesday meeting before we got to that deadline to call the election for November. If you're going to do it 2014.
Is there any advantage in doing it before that?
Well, the other thing is we're in the process right now of the primary election. And so I wouldn't think that for the confusion of the voters that you want to make the decision between the primary and the runoff. I think you want to actually go through this process of getting through these elections before we start to making changes, because it's going to take us at least 2 weeks to make the changes, send out cards, we have to notify all the voters of the changes. So we're in the process of getting, right now, between now and the runoff, of having those deadlines pretty close, because we have to have all changes made 30 days prior to each election. And then we're also contracting with the cities and school elections to do a May 10th election for them. So that even falls in between the primary and the runoff. So we're getting really close on those deadlines where we're ordering ballots and creating ballots for one while we're counting ballots for another. Because our deadlines are pretty tight between now and May 27th. So that's why we suggest you wait until after the runoff is canvassed to make a decision. You still have time to make it if you want to make it before August 22nd. Or if you want to look at some more time and do it after August 22nd, then that will affect the 2016 election.
And that process, I mean, no matter when you make that decision, that's always going to be in play. There's always going to be some office that's and depending on when you make the effective date, will determine what.
So the effective date needs to be before August the 22nd.
If that's what the court wants to do. I mean, the court has the discretion and the responsibility to do it whenever it's appropriate in their minds, but it can be after that. But the effect of that is the court appoints for the 2-year term versus the electorate elects for a 4-year term.
And then just something, I don't know if you said this or not, but the primary election and runoff, I mean, it's mute. There's no,
You're creating a vacancy.
Yeah, if you make a change, then it becomes moot. It's not moot now. Right now, they're running for those offices.
And we know from Wyndham Morrison that there's no necessarily interest in that office given by a primary.
That is correct. The interest in the office is created by the general election. Until they're elected to that office, there's no interest in that office.
Well, they're just being nominated by their party to put it on the November election. They're not being elected by this election.
So the nomination process becomes different.
For the Republican Executive Committee.
And the
Democratic as well. I would think it would be critical for us to meet these deadlines.
Oh yeah. So back. I don't know. I mean, they seem relatively
Liberal.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty easy to get there.
And I think, just from a logistics point of view, and I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I think the concept was, and I think actually when I spoke with Morrison Gwynn last, they're not due back here until after the primary, and I forget the dates, but some dates they weren't available.
They could be available on March 18th. And Commissioner Gibson also requested to after the primary, where he would be involved in it.
So, basically, they would come back with the plans and then you would, and you continue to gather this information, but, March 18th gives you, 2 or 3 months to deliberate and make that decision if that's what you want to do.
Anything else? Mr. Snell, you have anything?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to defer? No action. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made, second. Any other discussion? No discussion, call for a vote.
Commissioner Snell? Judge Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Perry?
Aye.
Pass.